How far would you go for your dog? It sounds like a simple question, until you're standing in the dark, in a freezing warehouse, surrounded by cages, and you hear the faint whimper of the only soul that ever pulled you out of your own darkness. My name is Belly, I'm 29, a freelance graphic designer from Seattle. I used to think my world was made of colors, sketches, and caffeine. But all the shades of my life turned gray after the breakup with Leo. I stopped painting, stopped living. Until one rainy evening I found him. A golden retriever with matted fur, trembling in the alley behind my studio. He looked up at me with eyes that said, "Don't give up yet." I named him Sunny, and just like his name, he brought light back into my life. Every morning he'd nudge me awake when I wanted to stay buried under the blanket. Every night, he'd rest his head on my lap, reminding me that love doesn't always come from people. I thought Sunny was my miracle, until the day someone came to take him back, or at least that's what I believed. That's where this story begins. A story about trust, loss, and how far a person can go when love is the only compass left. Because sometimes, doing the right thing feels like tearing your own heart apart. And sometimes what you think is kindness is exactly what they use to destroy you. So let me ask again, how far would you go for your dog? If you're still listening, we want to sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. Truly means a lot. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let's see how far this message has reached. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend doing it now so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. These aren't just ordinary stories, they're filled with meaningful life lessons that can inspire, teach, and stay with you long after the video ends. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from realizing that even when you're surrounded by people, no one really sees you. That's how my life used to feel. My name is Belly, and before Sunny came into my world, I was just a ghost moving through Seattle's gray streets. I'm 29, a freelance graphic designer, which sounds creative and exciting until you realize it mostly means working in pajamas, staring at deadlines, and refreshing your inbox for clients who might never reply. My studio apartment sat on the third floor of a converted warehouse near Pioneer Square. It had brick walls, a leaky window, and one plant that died months ago, but I still couldn't bring myself to throw away. The city outside was alive. Buses humming, cafes glowing, couples laughing under umbrellas, but inside I was stuck. After Leo left, everything became static. He and I had built a little world together, movie nights, late-night pizza, long talks about dreams we'd never chase. He said I made him feel seen. Funny how people say that until they find someone else who reflects them better. One morning, he packed his things, said he needed space, and never came back. At first, I told myself I'd be fine. I drowned in work. I designed logos for companies I didn't care about, edited photos until 3 a.m., and listened to playlists of rain sounds to fill the silence. But grief has a way of leaking through even the loudest distractions. My sketches turned darker. My coffee mugs piled up on the counter. Some days I didn't open the blinds at all. Friends texted. I lied. Yeah, I'm fine. I've just been busy. Maybe next week. But next week never came. Evenings were the worst. There's something about watching the sun set alone that makes time feel heavier. I'd sit by the window sketching random shapes, then stare at them until they blurred. Seattle's skyline looked distant, like it belonged to someone else's life. Sometimes I'd walk down to the coffee shop across the street just to hear human voices. The barista Lena always asked, "The usual?" I'd nod and she'd smile, the kind of smile that doesn't expect anything in return. For 5 minutes I'd feel like part of the world again. Then I'd go home and let the silence swallow me. I wasn't living. I was existing. Then came the night that changed everything. It was early November, one of those nights when the air smelled like cold metal and wet leaves. I was finishing a client's project when the lights flickered. My stomach growled, but I didn't have the energy to cook. I decided to take the trash out and grab a late-night sandwich from the 24-hour deli nearby. Behind my studio, there's an alleyway most people avoid, the kind filled with dumpsters, graffiti, and the faint hum of broken streetlights. That's where I heard it, a soft, trembling whimper. First I thought it was a cat, but then I saw him, a golden retriever, sitting in the corner near a pile of cardboard boxes. His fur was tangled and dirty, his ribs visible through the matted coat. His eyes, oh his eyes, they weren't wild or afraid. They were tired but gentle, like he'd been waiting for someone. "Hey buddy," I whispered, crouching slowly. He didn't run, just tilted his head, studying me. His tail moved once, hesitant, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to hope. I pulled off my scarf and reached it out. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." When I got closer, he leaned forward and sniffed my hand. His nose was cold, his breath shaky. I noticed a scar near his ear. Maybe from a fight or worse, neglect. My chest tightened. "You poor thing," I murmured. There was no collar, no tag, just a hungry, trembling creature who looked like he'd been forgotten by the world. I took him inside. The moment he crossed the threshold, he looked around my messy apartment like it was a palace. He sniffed the sofa, wagged his tail cautiously, then sat down as if asking, "Is it okay if I stay?" I poured a bowl of water, opened a can of tuna, the only meat I had, and set it down. He devoured it, then looked up at me, licking his lips, grateful. That night, he slept on an old blanket near my bed. I lay awake for hours, listening to his breathing, steady, rhythmic, comforting in a way I hadn't felt in months. For the first time in a long while, the silence didn't hurt. When I woke up, he was still there. His head rested on his paws, his golden fur catching the morning light that crept through the blinds. I smiled without meaning to. "Morning sunshine," I said. And that's how I named him Sunny. Life didn't change overnight, but little by little, he pulled me back to the surface. Every morning, Sunny would nudge me awake with his wet nose, insisting we go for a walk. I'd groan, pull the blanket over my head, and he'd respond by pawing at my face until I laughed. It became our ritual. We'd walk to Lakeview Park, where the air smelled of pine and rain. Sunny would chase leaves, greet strangers, and splash in puddles like a child. People smiled at us, at him, and somehow their smiles reached me too. My neighbors began to notice. "That's a beautiful dog," Mrs. Grant from 2B said once. "He looks like he adores you." I smiled shyly. I think we saved each other. At home, I started working by the window again. I'd sketch while Sunny napped beside my desk, his breathing soft and steady. My lines became lighter, my colors brighter. Clients noticed the change. "Your work feels warmer," one said. They didn't know why, but I did. Sunny had become my muse, my reason to get out of bed, my heartbeat in fur. He followed me everywhere, the coffee shop, the grocery store, even to client meetings. Once, during a stressful deadline, I accidentally spilled coffee all over my sketchpad and started crying. Sunny just walked over, placed his paw on my lap, and looked at me as if to say, "It's okay. We'll fix it." And somehow I believed him. Nights no longer felt unbearable. We'd sit by the window, me with a sketchbook, him with his chin on my knee, watching the city lights shimmer across the sound. Sometimes I'd talk to him about Leo, about how love can vanish without warning. Sunny would listen quietly, tilting his head, as if he understood every word. Maybe he did. Days turned into weeks, then months. My apartment filled with color again. New plants, new art, new energy. I started volunteering at a local shelter, designing adoption posters for abandoned animals. When I saw other dogs wagging their tails as they found new homes, I thought of Sunny, and how he found me when I needed saving the most. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, I sat beside him on the couch, my fingers tangled in his soft fur. "You know," I whispered, "you're the best thing that's ever happened to me." He responded by resting his head on my shoulder and letting out a deep sigh, that sound dogs make when they feel completely safe. I laughed softly. "Guess we're both doing better, huh?" And in that golden moment, surrounded by the faint scent of rain and the quiet hum of the city, I truly believed that maybe, just maybe, everything broken inside me had started to heal. If someone had told me back then that my biggest source of comfort would also become my greatest heartbreak, I wouldn't have believed them. But life has a strange sense of irony. It gives you light only to test how far you'll go to protect it. And I had no idea that soon the light named Sunny would be taken from me, and I'd have to decide just how far I was willing to go to bring him back. They say dogs choose their people. But sometimes I think they're sent to us for a reason, to remind us that love doesn't always speak in words. Sometimes it comes in fur, wagging its tail, and asking for nothing except a little kindness. Sunny gave me that. And when the world tried to take him away, I learned what it truly means to fight for something or someone you love. It was a quiet Saturday morning at Lakeview Dog Park, the kind of day Seattle rarely offered, warm and golden under a shy sun. I remember thinking how beautiful Sunny looked that day. His coat shimmered in the light, his tail waving like a golden flag as he chased a tennis ball through the grass. I laughed for the first time in weeks. That's when I noticed a couple standing by the fence watching us. A woman mid-40s maybe, with soft brown hair and eyes that looked startled. Beside her was a tall man with kind eyes and a tired face, holding a leash that dangled loosely from his hand. When Sunny saw them, he froze. His ears perked. Then before I could react, he sprinted toward them. The woman dropped to her knees, crying out, "Max!" My heart sank. She wrapped her arms around him, sobbing uncontrollably. Sunny, or Max as she called him, wagged his tail, confused but not resisting. The man joined her, voice trembling as he said, "We thought we'd never see him again." He showed me pictures on his phone, dozens of them. The same golden retriever, same soulful eyes, running in a garden, napping on a red couch, wearing a Christmas bow. Every detail matched. I stood frozen, my heart pounding in my ears. He was wandering behind my studio, I managed to say. No collar, no tag. I thought he was abandoned. The woman, Emma, wiped her tears. "He ran off when the back fence broke during a storm," she said, her voice breaking. "We searched for months. He's been with us since he was a puppy." The man, Jack, nodded, pulling out his wallet. His hands trembled as he offered me a thick envelope. "Please take this. It's $7,000 for his care, for everything you've done." I shook my head. "No, I can't take money for him. I just wanted him to be loved." Emma's eyes filled with gratitude and pain all at once. "You're a good person," she whispered. "Thank you for keeping him safe." But nothing about it felt right. Sunny, my Sunny, looked between us, tail wagging uncertainly. I knelt beside him, pressing my forehead to his. "It's okay, boy," I whispered, though my throat burned. "You're home now." He licked my cheek once softly. Then Jack took the leash from my hand. And just like that, they walked away. I stood there long after they disappeared, the wind cold against my face. The park suddenly felt too quiet, too wide, too empty. My hand still tingled where the leash had been, and my chest ached as if something had been ripped out of it. That night I couldn't sleep. Every corner of my apartment reminded me of him. His water bowl, the empty bed by the window, the toy duck he used to drag around. I tried to tell myself I did the right thing, that Sunny belonged to them, that love sometimes meant letting go. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw him looking back at me, confused, as if asking why I didn't call him back. Days passed in slow motion. I avoided the park, buried myself in work, stopped replying to friends. I even caught myself glancing at shadows on the street, half expecting to see a golden blur racing toward me. Once I thought I heard his bark outside and I ran to the door, but it was only a delivery truck passing by. One afternoon, I went to the pet store and donated his leftover food and toys. The cashier smiled gently and asked, "Did your dog pass away?" I didn't know what to say. In a way, it felt like he had. I walked home through the drizzle, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement. In the glass of a storefront, I saw my own reflection, tired, pale, and hollow-eyed. Losing Sunny had cracked something inside me that I didn't know could break again. For weeks, I kept replaying that moment at the park. What if I had asked for proof? What if I had taken more time? What if I had trusted my gut, that faint, uneasy feeling that something wasn't right? But I pushed those thoughts away, convincing myself that Emma and Jack were simply grieving pet owners who got lucky that day. I was wrong. At the time, I didn't know that kindness can sometimes open the wrong doors. I didn't know that the people I met that sunny morning would shatter my world all over again. And I definitely didn't know that letting Sunny go would only be the beginning of a much darker fight. One that would test how far I was truly willing to go for the one soul who had once saved me. 3 weeks passed since that morning at the park. Seattle had returned to its usual gray self. Skies like brushed steel, rain that never quite stopped, and streets shimmering under the melancholy glow of street lamps. My apartment felt like a tomb. The silence was suffocating. Every time I opened the door, I half expected to hear Sunny's paws scrambling toward me. But the only sound that greeted me was the distant hum of traffic and my own heartbeat. I tried to move on. I threw away his bed, packed up his toys, and donated the rest to an animal shelter. I even bought a hamster, a tiny, nervous creature named Chip, thinking maybe caring for something small would fill the void. But it didn't. I'd sit there watching Chip spin endlessly on his wheel, round and round, and realize how much that mirrored my own life. Motion without meaning. Then one night, unable to sleep, I did what everyone does when the loneliness gets too loud. I scrolled through my phone. Social media had become my background noise. But that night, as I absently flipped through a local Seattle community page, one post stopped me cold. It read, "Dog theft alert. Beware of this couple in Seattle area." Multiple reports of stolen dogs matching this pattern. They target purebreds, especially golden retrievers and huskies. Seen driving a white van near Capitol Hill, Ballard, and Tacoma. If you recognize them, contact authorities immediately. Below it was a blurry photo from a security camera. But even through the pixelated haze, I knew those faces. Emma and Jack. My hands trembled. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like the floor had vanished beneath me. The post had hundreds of comments. People sharing stories of missing pets, pleading for help, tagging each other, posting phone numbers, rewards. Some mentioned dogs vanishing from fenced yards. Others described being tricked into giving away strays to nice couples who promised loving homes. And then I saw it, another image captured from a different angle, showing the same white van I'd seen them drive away in that day at the park. The same dent near the tail light. I couldn't breathe. For a moment I just sat there, staring at my screen, heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. It couldn't be true. It couldn't. But deep down, some quiet part of me, the same instinct I'd ignored that morning, whispered that it was. I clicked through the profile of the person who posted the warning. A woman named Janelle, whose golden retriever had been stolen from her backyard 2 months earlier. Her post was filled with desperate updates. Tips, sightings, heartbreak. In one photo, she stood holding a flyer, tears streaking her face. And in the background of one of her surveillance stills, I spotted a small detail, a red Christmas bough hanging from the van's mirror. Just like the one in Jack's photos of Max. I felt sick. I started digging, searching every corner of the internet for dog theft Seattle white van. The deeper I went, the worse it got. There were dozens of reports across the Northwest. Stolen dogs shipped overseas. Purebred golden retrievers fetching up to $25,000 each on black markets in East Asia. Organized networks laundering money through pet transport agencies. And there, in a police bulletin from Tacoma, were 2 blurry mugshots, names unknown, but the resemblance to Emma and Jack was undeniable. Except they weren't Emma and Jack. The aliases under the file were Anna Miller and Jacob Voss, part of an interstate ring suspected of smuggling animals through shell companies disguised as breeders. I dropped my phone. It hit the hardwood floor with a dull thud. For a long time I just sat in silence, staring into the darkness of my apartment. My heart was pounding, my palms sweating. The truth hit me like a slow, cold wave. Sonny wasn't home. He'd been stolen. Again. And this time it was because of me. Every moment replayed in my head. The trembling hands, the fake tears, the photos, the envelope of money. I had walked right into their lie, handed them my dog, and thanked them for taking him away. Rage and guilt twisted together in my chest until it felt unbearable. I wanted to scream, to break something, to go back in time and grab that leash back from Jack's hand. But I couldn't. So instead, I opened my laptop and started researching. Within hours, I found message boards for victims of pet trafficking. I read stories of owners who tracked their stolen dogs across states, sometimes even countries. Some succeeded. Most didn't. But all of them shared one thing, the same unwavering determination. Somewhere between those desperate posts, I realized I couldn't just sit here. I had to do something. I opened my contacts list and hovered over Mia's name, a journalist I'd once worked with on a nonprofit campaign. If anyone could help me find the truth, it was her. Then I remembered Ethan, a freelance hacker I'd hired once to recover corrupted client files. He'd owed me a favor. I messaged them both that night. My fingers shook as I typed. "It's about a stolen dog. Mine. I think I found the people who took him. I need help." Mia replied first. "Send me everything you have." Ethan followed a minute later. "Give me a plate number or a location. I'll start digging." As I hit send, a strange calm washed over me. the kind that comes after heartbreak, when pain hardens into purpose. Outside, the rain tapped against the window. The city lights shimmered like ghosts in the glass. Somewhere out there, Sonny was alive, maybe scared, maybe hurt, but alive. And whoever had taken him thought they could just disappear. They didn't know me. They didn't know that the woman they fooled, the quiet graphic designer who once spent her nights sketching alone, was about to become their worst mistake. Because this time, I wasn't going to let anyone take Sonny away again. Not ever. Once Mia and Ethan joined the fight, everything changed. My grief turned into motion. We spent days piecing together every bit of evidence. Plate numbers from photos, cross-references from traffic cameras, addresses tied to fake businesses. Ethan was like a ghost in the system, moving through digital shadows. He found the white van registered under a shell company linked to Pacific Pet Transport, an export firm near Tacoma. On paper, they shipped agricultural goods to Asia. But one manifest, hidden deep in the files, listed dozens of organic units. We knew what that meant. Mia reached out to a contact at the Seattle Tribune. Her name carried weight in the newsroom. She'd covered illegal wildlife trade before. Through her source at the port, she learned a ship was leaving for Shanghai within 48 hours. The container numbers matched those from the export list Ethan uncovered. We didn't have time to wait for a warrant or for the police to review the evidence. I'd already lost Sonny once because I trusted the wrong people. I wasn't about to lose him again because I trusted bureaucracy. So we built a plan. Mia would record everything, visual proof that could blow this case open. Ethan would hack into the port's operations system, stalling cranes and rerouting cameras to buy us time. My job was to find Sonny. That night, the harbor was a maze of cold metal and flickering sodium lights. Wind whipped through the air, thick with the smell of salt and diesel. We parked a block away, hiding behind shipping containers painted with codes and rust. I wore dark clothes, a borrowed press badge from Mia's connections, and fear pulsing through every vein. Ethan's voice came through the earpiece. Camera grid looping in 60 seconds. "You're clear on entry, Belly." My heart hammered. I squeezed the small flashlight in my hand like it was a weapon. Mia nodded at me, her camera already rolling. "Let's bring him home," she whispered. We slipped past the first gate just as the guards turned their backs. The warehouse loomed ahead, corrugated steel walls, faint sounds coming from within. Then I heard it. Barking. Dozens of them. Some weak, some panicked. We pushed through a side door left ajar, stepping into a nightmare. The air was heavy with the stench of urine and blood. Rows of cages lined the walls, stacked to the ceiling, huskies, retrievers, shepherds, all trembling, eyes reflecting our flashlight beams. Some were muzzled, some too exhausted to move. "Jesus Christ," Mia muttered, lifting her camera. "This is hell." And then I saw him. In the far corner, behind a stack of crates, a golden retriever curled in a filthy cage. His fur was dull, tangled with dried blood. But when I whispered, "Sonny," his ears twitched. He lifted his head slowly, eyes glassy, and then recognition. He whimpered, tail weakly thudding against the bars. I fell to my knees. "It's okay, baby. I'm here." Ethan's voice buzzed through. "You've got company. 2 figures heading your way. Probably the couple." Mia and I exchanged a look. She turned off her light. We hid behind a container, holding our breath. Through the crack I saw them enter, Emma and Jack, or rather Anna and Jacob. They looked different under the harsh fluorescent light. No longer the gentle suburban couple, but something colder, hollow. Jack was checking a clipboard. Emma's face was pale, drawn, her eyes darting nervously. "They'll be on the ship by dawn," Jack said flatly. "Once it's out, nobody can trace it." Emma hesitated. "What if someone—" He cut her off. "No one's looking. We paid enough to make sure of that." Ethan's voice returned, urgent. "Belly, 5 minutes before the system resets. If you're doing something, do it now." I stepped out from behind the crates. "Wrong," I said. Emma gasped. Jack froze. For a second, none of us moved. "Where's my dog?" I demanded, my voice shaking. Jack sneered. "You shouldn't be here." Mia filmed, steady and silent. Jack lunged forward, but I stood my ground. "I called the police," I lied. "They're on their way." Jack cursed and turned toward the exit. But before he could move, flashing lights flooded the windows, blue and red slicing through the night. Guess she wasn't lying. Ethan said through my earpiece, a hint of pride in his voice. I called them myself. Chaos erupted. Jack tried to run, but a team of officers burst in from the other side. Emma screamed. Dogs barked frantically. I dashed toward Sunny's cage. My hand shook as I broke the lock open with a crowbar I'd grabbed near the wall. When the door swung open, Sunny stumbled out, his body trembling, his tail wagging weakly. I fell to the floor, wrapping my arms around him. It's okay, it's over, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Emma sank to her knees a few feet away, sobbing. You don't understand, she cried. They made us do it. The people behind this, they're dangerous. But her words drowned beneath the noise. Police shouting, dogs barking, metal clanging as cages opened one by one. Jack was handcuffed and dragged away, shouting something about lawyers. Emma looked up at me one last time before being led outside. Her eyes were hollow, maybe fear, maybe guilt. I couldn't tell. The aftermath was a blur. Sunny was rushed to a veterinary clinic run by a woman named Dr. Lena Morris, a specialist in trauma cases. She confirmed what I already feared: malnutrition, infection, severe anxiety. But he'd survive. When she scanned him, she found his microchip. Someone had tried to erase the ID, but not completely. It was proof of tampering. The next morning, the story exploded. Mia's footage hit national media. Seattle port raid uncovers international dog trafficking ring. Dozens of stolen pets were identified, some missing for months. The Pacific Pet Transport front traced back to a larger network with Russian and Eastern European ties. Jack, or Jacob, faced 20 years in federal prison. Emma, real name Anna, took a plea deal but never made it to trial. A month later, she was found dead in her cell. No one could confirm if it was suicide. Mia believed otherwise. I stopped checking the news after that. Sunny came home after 6 weeks of recovery. He was thinner, quieter, flinched at loud noises. Sometimes when I reached for his leash, he'd tremble, then look at me as if to make sure I wasn't leaving again. We took small steps together. Walks along Lakeview at sunrise. Sitting in silence at the cafe where I used to draw. He started wagging his tail again, cautiously at first, then with the full joy I remembered. I founded Sunny's Safe Paws, a non-profit to help victims of pet theft. Mia joined as our communications lead. Ethan became our cybersecurity advisor. Together, we created a network of volunteers, tech tools, and public awareness campaigns. But at night, when the world went quiet, I'd sometimes wake up in a cold sweat, remembering that warehouse, that smell, those cries. Trauma doesn't fade. It just reshapes itself. Yet on one rare sunny afternoon, Sunny chased a stick into the waves at Golden Gardens Beach, golden fur glinting under the light, barking like nothing had ever happened. I laughed through tears. The world, cruel as it is, still had room for moments like that. I'd gone farther than I ever thought I could. For love, for loyalty, for one golden dog who taught me what courage really means. And if I had to, I'd do it all again. Time didn't heal everything, but it taught me how to live with the scars. Months passed since the night at the harbor. The investigation had ended, the criminals were behind bars, and the media had moved on. But for me, the story was far from over. Every sound, the creak of a door, a dog barking in the distance, still made my chest tighten. Sunny would flinch at strangers or hide behind me when someone raised their voice. We were two survivors trying to learn how to trust the world again. That was when I decided to build something from the wreckage. Not just for us, but for others who had walked through the same darkness. I called it Sunny's Safe Paws, a non-profit dedicated to rescuing stolen pets and supporting their owners. Mia became our media coordinator, turning every case into a story that mattered. Ethan built the digital backbone, a tracking system that could alert owners if their pets' microchips were tampered with. And Dr. Lena joined as our on-call vet, helping rehabilitate the animals we found. We started small, a garage office, 3 laptops, and a handful of volunteers. But stories spread fast. Within months, people from all over Washington reached out. Some shared hope. Others shared heartbreak. Every time we helped a family reunite with their lost dog, something inside me healed a little more. Sunny became the heart of our campaign. His golden fur and kind eyes appearing on every poster, every social media post. From lost to found, from fear to faith, our slogan read. There were nights when I'd look at him lying by my feet while I worked and whisper, "We did it, didn't we?" He'd wag his tail softly as if to say, "Yes, but we're not done yet." And maybe he was right, because healing isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering without breaking. Ending in 5 lessons learned. Now, when I walk through Seattle's parks and see dogs running freely under the morning light, I don't feel pain anymore. I feel gratitude, because I learned that real love asks for courage. And sometimes, courage means walking through fear to protect what you hold dear. Here are 5 lessons Sunny taught me, lessons I want you to take with you. Love doesn't always speak, it shows. Sunny never said a word, but his loyalty reminded me what real companionship means. Trust your instincts. The moment you feel something is off, listen. Kindness is beautiful, but blind trust can be dangerous. Even in betrayal, you can choose purpose. I could have drowned in anger. Instead, I built something to help others. Pain became my fuel. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll smile. Others you'll shake from the memory. Both are part of recovery, don't rush it. Hope is contagious. Every time we rescue another animal, someone else starts to believe again. In goodness, in justice, in love. If you're watching this and you've ever lost something, a pet, a person, a piece of yourself, remember, the story isn't over yet. There's always a way back to light, even when the world feels cruel. So if Sunny's story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the quiet strength we all carry, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel for more stories about resilience, redemption, and the human spirit. Because every view, every comment, every share keeps our mission alive. One story, one soul, one heartbeat at a time. And as long as Sunny and I are here, we'll keep shining that light.